All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I like to give all the honor, the praise, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Bahakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations to the elect scattered abroad. All right, this is Brother Barbazal here with a lesson, and Lord, wasn't this edifying. All right, so today I just wanted to do a quick lesson, just going into, the second death, the destruction of Babylon the Great, particularly, just going into, because brothers, when we go out into the highways and hedges, we're prophesying, right? Prophesying of what? The destruction of this place. All right. One of course, our main job, as a prophet, is to teach biblical prophecy, which, of course, one of the main prophecies that has to take place is, of course, the destruction, of Babylon, right? This kingdom, ultimately, going down, and the Israelites, being brought up, right, in that righteous rulership. Okay. So this is the book of Revelation 21:8. It says, "But the fearful and unbelieving and the abominable and murderers and whoremongers and sorcerers and idolaters and all liars shall have their part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death." All right, and this isn't talking about a spiritual hell. All right, where when you die, you go there and you burn up for eternity. All right, that's something that was made up by the anti-Christian church. All right, going back to different type of mythology, and things of that nature. All right, that's completely unbiblical. Because when you actually read the Bible, you understand that the second death, right, the lake of fire, right, the hellfire that goes into that the Bible is speaking of is destruction, that'll take place on the earth. All right, as a result of this man's rulership, Esau's rulership. Okay, and the Israelites, starting with the elect. Okay, remembering themselves in their captivity. Of course, going back to Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai. And, and once that happens, prophecy and these certain things will speed up. All right. The scriptures go into the days have been, shortened for the elect's sake. Right. So it's like ever since, there was of course, the awakening. Right. And more Israelites are waking up every day to who they truly are. More and more we see that, this society getting ready to go down, right? Like we're seeing with the Neuralink, the MOTB, clinical trials beginning. We're still seeing, wars, rumors of wars, World War III, it's getting ready to happen. The least of the flock, drawing them out, right? Going into, the small hats. Okay, Jacob's trouble around the corner. We got a guy like Donald Trump in office, which which we believe today to be the the modern day Nero. All right, which we do believe that the Lord is going to use Donald Trump. He may be the last president. All right, before Yahushua's return, the Lord's going to use Donald Trump in order to forward biblical prophecy. All right. And actually, I want to get into real quick Revelation 19. Just going into the importance of going into the prophecy. All right, and that's our main focus. Teaching, exhorting, right? Going into biblical prophecy, not endless debates and, trying to be seen and, endless strivings about the law. All right. you know, we mainly go into prophecy, all right, because we understand, you know, the type of times that we in, all right, and all the other stuff is unprofitable, all right. You know, we going into the you know, the scriptures, you know, going back to the Hebrew, you know, breaking it down, all right, you know, going into you know, the destruction of this place, all right, you know, watching the world news, you know, filtering it through the scriptures, okay. You know, this is all a part of being a prophet. All right, so this Revelation 19, we can start at 9, right? It says, and he said unto me, right, blessed are they which are called unto the marriage supper of the Lamb. And he said unto me, these are the true sayings of Yahweh. And I fell at his feet to worship him. And he said unto me, see thou do it not. I am thy fellow servant and of thy brethren that have the testimony of Yahweh Shai. Worship Yahweh. For the testimony of Yahweh Shai is the spirit of prophecy. All right. And, you know, we're in the spirit of Yahweh Shai. Right. You know, we hasten in the downfall of this kingdom. All right. We're not going to tell you that, you know, it could take another 1,000 years, 100 years. All right. That ain't the type of spirit to be in. All right. We in the type of spirit that, you know, any day, you know, all hell could break loose. All right. And you know, when you actually paying attention, all right, you can see that to be the case. You know, you can't see this place going on for 100 years, you know, another 1,000 years, you know. And, you know, hey, Esau ain't going to wait that long. All right, the scriptures go into, you know, the devil coming with a short, with great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. All right. And with the everything happening, you know, the Esau's, you know, technological advances, you know, the MOTB is already here, right? You know, the next step is for it to be mandated, right? Which, you know, it's not going to take hundreds and thousands of years for that to happen, okay? So this is the book of Isaiah 13:5. All right, it says, we can start at 4. The noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as of a great people, a tumultuous noise of kingdoms, of nations gathered together. The Lord of hosts mustereth the hosts of the battle. So the Lord is going to gather these different nations, right, starting with Russia, you know, in order to come against Babylon, right? You know, we know that Russia, of course, is going to lead that assault, right? That'll lead to you know, this place being up in flames, right? Completely destroyed. Since they come from a far country, all right, because, you know, they're in Europe, the other side of the world, so to speak. They come from a far country, from the end of heaven, even the Lord and the weapons of his indignation to destroy the whole land. So those ICBM nuclear missiles, that's the weapons of the Lord's indignation, you know, to destroy the whole land. So this whole place is going to be destroyed. All right. How ye, for the day of the Lord is at hand. It shall come as a destruction from the Almighty. All right. So it's going to be a destruction. All right. And those who's, you know, wicked, you know, will be caught up in that destruction. All right. You know, Jakes who's, you know, unbelievers, right, unfaithful, will be caught up in that destruction. You know, any heathen, you know, that's here, right, when that happens, will be caught up in that destruction. All right. Now there will be heathen that's spared, you know, that's going straight into slavery. All right. But we know that, you know, of course, 2/3 of our people, you know, who don't believe will be destroyed and come back in the kingdom. All right. So this is the book of 2 Esdras 15:1. Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy. You see, going into prophecy again, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord. So the Lord has set up prophets. All right. And the Lord has always set up prophets to speak to the people. Right. You know, to tell them, you know, right from wrong. Right. To tell them, right, you know, what pleases the Lord, you know, what the Lord requires of the Israelites, right? But of course, our people are stiff-necked, don't want to listen, is infatuated with idolatry, is rebellious people. All right. So the Lord, has to give the multitude of our people that judgment. All right. Verse 2, it says, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. Fear not their imaginations against thee. Let not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speak against thee. For all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. You see? So that's why we're not worried about what these people think about us, them coming against us. We know that's part of the, the territory, so to speak. We know that we'll have to be hated, in order to be, exalted in the end, get that glory through the end. And, we're not looking for the worldly glory. All right. We looking to be, accepted by Yahweh, by Shem Yahushai. And that comes with the fear of the Lord. That comes with faith. All right. Something that, these people, the 2/3 of our people don't have. Verse 5, it says, behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. So that's what the Lord is coming with. And if you ain't right in the spirit, all right, you're going to get caught up with any one of those. All right. However the Lord, sees fit. Right. But, that's pretty much the point. That's pretty much the lesson, when it was edifying. So with that, I like to give all the honor and praise, glory unto Yahweh, by Shem Yahushai, by Shem Rachakodash. Shalom.